Here's how you do today's assignment in Adobe Illustrator. This time, instead of downloading a file from Google Classroom, you're just going to start Illustrator. You'll go here to Create New, and when this window pops up here, you'll have different options about mobile and print and web. We're going to go to print, we're going to go to letter, and over here I'm going to set the orientation of the document. Portrait would be up and down, landscape would be sideways. I like landscape, so I'm going to do it that way, and I'll hit create. This gives me I'm going to close some things here. This gives me an artboard to work on. Now, what we're going to use to make most of this picture today is called symbols. To begin with, I just want to show you quickly where to find symbols, and you'll have to kind of explore the collection a little bit. But if you go to the window menu and you click on symbols, you'll get a panel that pops out, and there's not very much on that panel right now. But for example, here's how you use a symbol. If you have a symbol loaded into the symbol window, you can just drag it out and drop it, and then use your black arrow tool to make it bigger or smaller, or move it around. And so that's an example of a symbol. It's kind of pre-drawn art, and they have a lot of them actually. This doesn't show a lot of them, but what you have to do to find the other symbols is you go to the library button, and then these are all collections of symbols here. So for example, if I go to Mad Science, I get another panel that pops up, and they have all of these kinds of symbols. Like if I drag out try that again there, if I drag out a telescope, and I can make it bigger. I use my black arrow to move it around, make it bigger, make it smaller, that kind of thing. Now, a couple of things that you'll find can be done with symbols. If I drag out like this beaker, I could make, let's say that I'm making some kind of diagram or picture or whatever, and I want more than one of these beakers. I can press down the Alt key on the keyboard and drag that beaker, and it makes a duplicate of it. So I could make as many duplicates as I wish. If I need to use an object over and over, I can hold the Alt key and drag it to make copies. If I ever make something that I don't want, I can take the black arrow, click on it, and then just touch the Delete key on the keyboard, and I can get rid of it. I can also, for example, if I wanted to, let's say that I wanted this telescope to point the other direction. I like the telescope, but I wish it was pointing the other way. I can do a right click, I can go to transform, and I can reflect it. There's an option there for reflect. So that's right click, transform, reflect, and then I can just click OK. And now you'll see that telescope is pointing the other way. So just right click, transform, reflect, OK. There's other things on that transform panel as well, but that's one thing that comes in pretty handy, is reflecting something and making it point a different way. So let's I'll go back to library, and I'll open up maybe a nature thing, and I'll bring out let's say that I'm going to bring out a butterfly here, and I'll bring out a leaf and stretch that out a little bit. All right, so I've got a butterfly and a leaf, right? And let's say that I'm working on some kind of image or whatever that has this leaf and this butterfly, but I've got them on here, and I'm thinking, well, the butterfly is hidden behind the leaf. I don't want that. I don't want that to be behind the leaf. So here's what you can do. You can use what's called the Arrange feature, and you can get to it a couple of ways. If I click on the butterfly, I could right click, and way down here at the bottom I could go to Arrange, and I've got some options. You also can look over on the right hand side at your Properties panel. There's a button over there that says Arrange, and I could say Bring to Front, Send to Back, Bring Forward, Send Backward. I've got options here. So for example, on that butterfly, if I say Bring to Front, the butterfly is now in front of the leaf that I had there a moment ago. So let's get rid of all these things, and I'm going to build something very quickly. Now, on your assignment today, you could, if you wanted to, use you've learned how to make some shapes, and you've learned how to make some text, and so you could throw some of that in as well, but that would be kind of up to you. I am going to do a thing where I'm going to go to the libraries here, and I'm going to go to the one called Primitive, and I'm going to bring out a couple of things. I'm going to bring out a zebra, and I'm going to bring out, there's a little like a hut here. Make that a little bit bigger, and there's like a mask that I'm going to make as a decoration on the top of the hut, and I might bring out a tree, make that tree kind of big, and I'm going to bring out this guy here, make him bigger. All right, so I've got several pieces kind of working here that I can rearrange. I can use my black arrow and I can kind of rearrange those and move those around and do what I want. I'm going to go to the nature library, and there's a bunch of grass. There's different kinds of grass. So I'm going to drag in some grass, and I want to make that bigger. And then I'm going to hold the Alt key and use that trick. If you press the Alt key down and you drag it, I can make extra copies of it. And so I can kind of thicken that grass up here by holding the Alt key and dragging a bunch of that. And I'm starting to kind of come close. Now also I notice here they're kind of hard to see, but there's some clouds. I'm going to put a cloud up there, something like that. This zebra I might move down here. Now I might want to do some arranging here. So like this tree that I have in my diagram or my picture, I'm going to send it to the back because I would like for it to be behind the other things. Might make my zebra a little bit bigger. Bring this guy over here. So it's starting to come along, and I'll take my hut and maybe make that a little bit bigger. Get my mask sitting where I want it on my hut. Now here's a finishing touch. I'm going to get the rectangle tool, and I'd like to make it look like there's some blue sky kind of behind here. So I'm going to stretch out a box, and right now it's just filled with white, but I'm just going to fill it with like a light blue. And you know, I could, if I wanted to, I could go look for a gradient that I liked, but I'm just going to make it a light blue, and I'll go over and use that arrange button on the right hand side and send it to the back. So my sky is in the back. And I might also do this. I might take another rectangle. I'll draw a rectangle down here at the bottom that kind of is, for right now, it's going to cover up the grass that I made. But I'm going to change its color to a green. I want kind of a base color behind that grass, so I'll make it green, and I'm going to go arrange, and I'm going to go send it back to the back. And now look what I got. Now mostly this image is made of symbols, right? It's got the hut and the mask and the zebra and the tree and the cloud, and I did throw a couple of shapes in there. I've got a blue rectangle in the back. I got the grass down here, but mostly this is made out of symbols, and I was able to make it because I got into the symbol library in here and just kind of dug around and found what I could find, and I made a little picture mostly made out of symbols. Remember that you can hold the Alt key and drag something with your black arrow to make extra copies. You can right click, transform, reflect to make things like point the other way. You can make things bigger and smaller. You can use the arrange button that's going to be over on the right hand side. When you click on an object, you've got this arrange button over here where you can do bring to front, send to back, that kind of thing. And so your assignment today is to work on making a little scene, some kind of little picture, mostly made out of symbols. You could use some other things along with it. And then you would have to save it. You would go File, and you would go Save As, and do what we always do, right? You would get to your, make your way to your network drive. And then I'm just going to call it Symbols, because that's what I use mostly. All right, click OK, and then I would just have to, and that will be in there somewhere, right? Yeah, that'll be on your screen. I would have to get up to Google Classroom and turn that in. So that's what we're working on here today.